So an ion is basically a charged atom. And atoms become charged by either gaining extra negatively charged electrons, and if an atom gains more negatively charged electrons, it becomes overall negatively charged, or an atom can lose negatively charged electrons. So if it loses some negative charges, it becomes overall positively charged. So an ion is just that, it's a charged atom. And atoms either lose or gain electrons because they love it when their most outer shell is either full or it has 8 electrons in it. So atoms will do this, they will react with other atoms in an effort to gain a full outer shell. So I'll give you some examples of some ions, some atoms that have become either positively or negatively charged. So the first one we've got here is oxygen. So an oxygen atom, if we look at it, it's got 2 electrons, one here and one just here in its first shell, and then it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in its second shell. So the second shell can actually hold 8 electrons. So oxygen's screaming out, it really wants a full outer shell. So it really wants to have an extra electron. So it could fit an extra electron here, and it could fit an extra electron there. So what oxygen will do is it will gain electrons from other atoms in an effort to get a full outer shell. So what happens, of course, when oxygen gains those 2 extra electrons, so it's gained one here and one here, 2 extra electrons means it's got an overall charge of -2 or 2-. So it's now an oxygen ion or an oxide ion. It's gained 2 electrons, so it's become a negatively charged ion. Another example over here we've got is sodium. So sodium here, it's got 2 electrons in the first shell, 8 in its second shell, but it's only got 1 electron in its third shell. So it hates having only 1 electron in its third shell. It really badly wants a full outer shell or to have 8 electrons in its most outer shell. So sodium, it could try and gain 7 extra electrons to put in this third shell, but that would actually be super duper hard. So all it does is this lone electron here, it gets rid of it. It gives it away to another atom, and when it does that, it looks like this. So sodium it's got 11 protons, and then once it's given an electron away, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 negatively charged electrons, 11 protons in the nucleus, 11 positive charges, means overall it's got a charge of +1. We don't write the 1 when there's only 1 charge. So a sodium ion is just Na and then A+. Na+. So sodium atom, if it gives 1 electron away, it becomes a positively charged sodium ion. Another example over here, we've got one which is chlorine. So here's a chlorine atom. It's got 2 in the first shell, 2 electrons in the first shell, 8 in the second shell, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 electrons in its third shell. So a normal chlorine atom, 17 electrons, it's got 17 protons in the middle, and it really badly, it just needs 1 extra electron here. If it gets 1 extra electron here, it will then have 8 electrons in its most outer shell. It will be stable. It'll react with other atoms in an effort to get that 1 extra electron, and that's what it does. So when chlorine gains 1 extra electron here, still got 17 protons, but if it gains 1 more electron, it'll then have 18 electrons in total. So 18 negative charges and only 17 positive charges gives it an overall charge of -1. So that's a chlorine ion, that's Cl-, and it's a negatively charged atom or an ion. Another example just down here, we've got an atom called lithium. So lithium only has 3 electrons, 1, 2, 3. 3 electrons, got 3 protons in the nucleus. It doesn't want to have 1 electron in its outer shell, it just wants a full outer shell. So it'll just try and get rid of this electron. It'll do that to form an ion. Once it does that, 3 protons and 3 positively charged protons and 2 negatively charged electrons means it's overall got a charge of +1, and it will become a positively charged lithium ion with a charge of +1. Last example again, really quickly. Over here I've got a magnesium atom. Magnesium has an atomic number of 12, so 12 protons, and normally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 electrons, 12 protons, 12 electrons, normal magnesium atom, no charge, just a regular atom. But again, it really doesn't want to have these 2 electrons in its most outer shell. It wants to have a full outer shell, and it will react with other atoms in an effort to get rid of those electrons. And when it does that, when it gets rid of those 2 electrons in its third shell or its most outer shell, the most outer shell becomes its second shell, which is full, so 2 in the first, 8 in the second, which is 10 electrons overall, because it's still got 12 protons in the nucleus. So 12 positive charges in the nucleus, 10 negative charges, gives it overall a charge of +2. So a magnesium ion is Mg2+, so it's a positive ion. So ions are either positively or negatively charged atoms. Also, just quickly, ions do have different names. So a positive ion is called a cation, and a negative ion is called an anion. Some people remember this by thinking that a positive thing is a cat. Cats are really lovely and they're fluffy and they're nice to cuddle, so they're positive, and positively charged ions are cations. Some people think that onions are really negative or yuck things, and they remember that negative ions are called anions. So that's all about ions, or positively or negatively charged atoms.